for inviting me here to discuss the policy. We're very excited about the potential to have this discussion, and looking forward to answering your questions. My name is Dennis Porter. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a nonprofit, nonpartisan public policy organization called Satoshi Action Fund. So we work on the state level to try to educate policymakers and regulators and the general public on the benefits of this technology, which we believe include the ability to have a positive impact on the grid, the economy, and the environment. So I look forward to answering any questions that you might have.
Will you kind of go over the orphan well program with this legislation is talking about, and kind of give everybody understanding of how it works? And
absolutely. So if you go to our executive summary, which I hope that you have in front of you there, it's the orphan well Bitcoin mining program. Some of you might have a copy, some of you might not. But the premise of this bill is that there is hundreds, maybe thousands of abandoned oil and gas wells here in the state of Mississippi. And these abandoned orphan wells are emitting methane into the atmosphere and also potentially leaking methane and other gases into groundwater, causing groundwater contamination. This is a very serious environmental problem, which has been very difficult to solve. And there's even been federal monies that have been granted to the state of Mississippi, $25 million as an initial grant, and subsequent monies up to about roughly about $31 million available to the state. But what we want to do is help the state of Mississippi to be able to solve this environmental problem through a very unique solution. And that very unique solution is Bitcoin mining. Unlike any other business in the world, Bitcoin mining is very location agnostic, which means that it can basically go anywhere, be anywhere, set up shop anywhere. So what you can do is you can go and set one of these shops up next to one of these mining facilities, next to an abandoned oil and gas well that is emitting methane. And just for your clarity, methane as a greenhouse gas is 84 times worse than carbon dioxide over a 20-year period. And it is 27 times worse over a 100-year period for warming. So anytime you can mitigate methane, you're helping the state to have a very significant and positive impact on its emissions profile. So what you do is you set up shop this you set up on these orphaned oil wells with Bitcoin mining operations. You capture the methane and you run it through a generator or a turbine to convert it into electricity. And then you take that electricity and you use that to mine Bitcoin. So that's the basic general gist of the policy. We think it's a win for the environment. It's a win for taxpayers, and it's a win for the economy.
On these abandoned oil wells, so there's no production, there's no net or monetary economic activity going on currently. Is that correct?
These abandoned oil and gas wells are left over maybe because of a boom and bust cycle in the oil and gas space, oil and gas industry, which, as you know, happens roughly every 5-10 years. There's some sort of a boom and bust cycle in the price of oil and gas. And what happens is that these abandoned wells, which were not properly mitigated or plugged, were put into the custody of the state. So the state of Mississippi has these abandoned oil wells in their custody, and they need to figure out how to solve. The state needs to try to figure out how to solve this problem. So what we want to do is create a way for you to solve the problem that saves taxpayer money and also generates revenue back to the state. And in the instance of the federal grant money, the more money you spend, the more jobs that you create through the plugging of these wells and through the mitigation of these wells, you get more federal money from the feds. So that's just kind of this positive feedback loop of driving revenue to the state. But currently, as it stands, there's no business or no way to go after and capture this methane because oftentimes it's remote. It's too far from a pipeline. It's too far from the grid to electrify. So Bitcoin mining, as I mentioned, can go anywhere, can be anywhere, and solve this problem.
What are there states that this is currently being, you're currently doing this?
There are 2 other states that we are working with very closely in the drafting process. That is Oklahoma and also in Texas.
All right. And you said these are state of Mississippi owned wells, or what about privately owned wells?
So in this specific policy, it's more so focused on the wells that are in the custody of the state of Mississippi.
Okay. So are there states that are actively doing this right now? Has this been passed anywhere that they've taken advantage of these methane producing wells, that you're able to do this?
So there's a whole entire business model around taking methane from various sources, including flared gas. I mean, the state of Texas, Oklahoma, several other states have very big business models built around taking flared gas and converting that into electricity for the purpose of mining Bitcoin. So there are sophisticated operators in this space already doing this. And all we're asking now is for the state of Mississippi to open up these abandoned wells, which, you know, the state of Mississippi and Texas and Oklahoma and about 2 other dozen states have a significant portion of abandoned wells. So we're just asking these states, hey, there's already people doing this. You have a problem that needs to be solved. Let's let these guys come in and solve it.
What size, what type of electricity can be produced from these wells? A single well, how much power are you talking about?
It definitely ranges greatly. Some wells are producing a lot of methane. Some aren't producing any methane at all. What'll most likely happen is you'll see the Bitcoin miners come in and they'll be able to come in and take a look at large batches of these wells and determine which ones are the most economical to produce on. But I would say roughly anywhere between half and a full megawatt is achievable depending on the production of the well.